The Empire has fallen, the arcane crystals have shattered, and it's up to you to lead a group of survivors to collect its shards in the Wildlands.
Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio Awesome. I'm Katie.
And I'm Ryan, and today we're going to take a look at Wildlands by Martin Wallace, a game published by Osprey Games.
We're also going to be taking a look at the expansion, The Unquiet Dead. In this game, for 2 to 4 players, you're going to be collecting shards as one of the factions that's found in this Wildlands. Let's take a look.
The base game comes with 4 factions to choose from: the magic-focused guild, the lawbringers, the pit fighters, which are pretty melee-focused, and the nomads. We also got to play with the Unquiet Dead expansion, which adds some new rules and an additional faction of zombie-like characters.
Each player is randomly dealt cards that correspond with numbered spaces on the game board. The player will secretly assign a card to each character in their faction, passing the rest of the cards to the player on their left. The cards they then receive will be spaces where their jewel shards are required to be placed.
At the beginning of your turn, if you still have unrevealed characters, you reveal a character and then place the corresponding token on that space. Each character card has the character symbol in the upper left, and then in the upper right has a number which represents the character's hit points. It's important to keep track of which character symbols are which, because you can only use those symbols to activate actions for that character. For example, the Lord symbol is this skeletal hand, so he'll only be able to use 4 out of the 5 cards in this hand.
When a player is taking their turn and you don't like what they're doing, you have a chance to interrupt them by playing a card with the interrupt symbol. You can then reveal any characters that you would like before taking as many actions as your cards will allow before returning the play back over to the original player. In this case, the interrupting player is choosing to use a couple of cards to attack.
When you attack, you play 1 card at a time, allowing enough time for the opposite player to counter your attack with a symbol of their own. If, however, they cannot counter the attack or they choose not to, they will gain damage depending on what symbol you played. You'll place the wound on the corresponding character's card. If that character gains enough wounds to bypass their hit points, they die. If using the encounter rules from the Unquiet Dead expansion, a knocked out character will be replaced by an undead character. Any player can activate the undead if they use one of the symbols of one of their knocked out characters. However, the undead can't collect points.
So a player will win when they collect 5 points, which will be done either when they collect a jewel of their matching color or when they eliminate another player's character. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this game and I thought was really kind of unique and fun was the numbered board, where you pre-programmed where your characters were going to appear on that board, and then also looking through those initial cards and taking those and passing on the cards that you want your opponent to have to put their jewels on. For me, I thought that was just really kind of a neat way to set up a game.
I like that all of the groups of survivors were asymmetrical. They each had their own focuses and what they could or couldn't do. And I liked that they came with a little card that shows you what abilities they have in their decks. It's not apparent at first, though, so you do definitely need to look at that card and see whether or not your player has ranged powers, for instance, in that group, or if maybe you should try one of the other groups.
Yeah, that's something that I got a little bit hung up on, and I really struggled with at first. Ryan actually like took the time to look through all of his characters and figure out all the symbols.
Not the first time.
So, well,
it was a learning experience.
All the time. Anyway, when I played him, he already knew what was going down, and I was taking a long time on my turn, just trying to figure out what to do. But through all that, it is actually a really fun game. It's neat moving around the board, surprising people. There's a little bit of the take that kind of feel to it. Also, the Unquiet Dead expansion, which was really interesting, where you could play it as a faction, and it has a whole extra character that none of the other factions get to have. So it has like a 6th character.
But it is pretty balanced because they take off some of the abilities on cards, so your hand is a little watered down.
Yeah,
in return.
But each of the players, there's only 2 symbols to activate characters in the Undead expansion. So you have a real variety in who can do what. I think also something that's really interesting is that you could play it also as a separate piece, not as a faction, and you can have a character die. And then when they die, they come back as a zombie. And then people can move those people and they're like fighting other players. And it turns into a bloodbath.
If this sounds of interest to you, definitely check out Wildlands by Osprey Games. I say hello,
okay, I
welcome to San
know.
Francisco.
Okay.
Didn't I hear you crying?
We'll just go with that.
I don't know. If
That'll be you, and then I'll just say whatever. I'm Katie.
And I'm Ryan.